since this is the fifth concert that they've done for us, and we know that this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful evening. So thank you all for coming, and please join me in welcoming the Flume Ensemble.
Thank you, Mrs. Dalton. As Ms. Dalton just said, today's concert is Flume's fifth concert for the RSS since the start of the pandemic last March. And now it's summer once again, and we wanted to share with you our passion for the music we play once more. I'll start in going around and introducing ourselves. My name is Henry Yoon, and I play the cello, and I'm a junior at Riverdale Country School.
My name is Harry Gallen. I play the double bass, and I'm a rising junior at Riverdale. He's a rising senior.
Hi, I'm Claire, and I play the oboe, and I'm also a rising junior.
I'm Lauren. I play the violin, and I'm also a rising junior.
I'm Parisa. I also play the violin, and I'm also a rising junior.
At our last concert, for the theme of film music, we performed pieces from movies from the last 50 years. There were so many to choose from, however, and we didn't even get through half of the original repertoire we chose. So, in a similar vein, today we will be sharing with you all the music which we couldn't get to last time. Please comment any suggestions for pieces we could play if you think we missed a good one.
Our opening piece comes from the movie that brought Brad Pitt onto the world stage back in 1994. Taking place over a span of about 60 years, from the years preluding World War I through the 1960s, Legends of the Fall told the story of a Cornish immigrant family's journey through the first half or so of the 20th century. The movie itself isn't bad, a bit overdramatic at times, in my personal opinion, but overall pretty good. But what stuck out to me was composer James Horner's score for the movie. There's one scene in particular that I have etched into my memory. It plays towards the beginning of the movie. Tristan, the character Brad Pitt plays, is riding a horse over a hill in an expansive field of grass and flowers. A forest looms behind him, and as he rides over the crest of a hill, the theme swells to a crescendo. And it lingers on after he's passed by. It's a grand scene, and one of the many that won the movie its well-deserved Oscar for Best Cinematography in 1995.
We now travel to the rainforests of tropical South America. This is a movie we've actually played a piece from before. The mission tells the story of missionaries who venture out to the Iguazu Falls in South America to spread Catholicism to the indigenous Guarani people. Though its plot may be a little problematic today, its message of peace and forgiveness in the face of opposing ideologies and differences applies today more than ever. At the beginning of the film, the missionaries get into a violent conflict with the indigenous tribe, and one of the missionaries even loses his life. However, Gabriel, the main character, continues to try and communicate with them. Instead of giving into fear and dread, he takes out his oboe and plays a melody for them.
Oop. Nice. All right. It's quite an incredible scene. The mere sound of the oboe was really able to overcome all the antagonism, misunderstanding, and fear both the missionaries and the natives had for one another, and it was really able to bridge this cultural gap between them. Renowned film composer Ennio Morricone composed the melody played in the scene and titled it Gabriel's Oboe. Its beauty and power to unite even convinces Rodrigo, a slave trader and mercenary, to cry out in repentance and regret for what he spent his life doing. We bring you Gabriel's Oboe tonight, arranged for a trio of 2 cellos and an oboe.
Films give us a chance to reflect on unique narratives of human life and give us a chance to consider a perspective different from our own. And of course, music plays such a huge role in making that reflection possible. The movie Life is Beautiful juxtaposes the warmth and beauty of human life with one of the coldest and most inhumane places to exist, the concentration camps of Nazi Germany. It tells the story of Guido, who comes to Rome from a small town and meets Dora. They carve out a space for them and their son Josue there, but on Josue's 5th birthday, the family is captured and taken to Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp.
At the camp, Guido tries to protect Josue from the horrors of the Holocaust by telling him that they're in a complicated game and that they must do their best to win. In a bit of irony, Guido spends his last days on Earth teaching Josue of the many happy things that can be seen going on at Auschwitz. Even in the very last moments, Guido plays his part and winks at Josue before meeting his death. Life is Beautiful brings a kind of sorrowful laughter to the audience, who knows that the laughter is only a veil, masking the dread of what everyone knows is to come. The movie reminds us to cherish the strength and beauty of life, a message which we believe is ever more important as we move into a post-COVID world.
Around halfway through preparing the repertoire for this concert, we realized that all the music we chose was super depressing, so we decided to switch gears for a little bit. Sometimes a soundtrack for a movie is just so good on its own that it ditches its movie association and it goes on to just be a hit song on its own. I think this is definitely the case for Singing in the Rain, judging by just how well known the song is. This eponymous musical film that came out in 1954 is one that has withstood the test of almost 6 decades of time. It takes place during one of the most radical shifts in cinema history, or the plot does, not the movie itself, during the change from silent films to quote-unquote talkies, or movies with sound, where people talk, and that's why they called them talkies, and portrayed the life and romance of silent film stars that were caught in this transition. Even though silent films are difficult to imagine for most of us living in the 21st century, we can imagine just how turbulent this transition would have been. In one of the most famous scenes in movie history, Don Lockwood, played by Gene Kelly, dances in a rainstorm while singing to himself after a night out with his love interest, Kathy, who's played by Debbie Reynolds. And it's just one of those scenes about a man in love that somehow makes you happy as well along with him just to watch.
We'd now like to jump from the 20s to the modern era. Crazy Rich Asians made history when it debuted in 2018 and was met with huge commercial success. The movie tells the story of romance between Rachel, an economics professor, and Nick, an ultra-rich heir to some huge Singaporean fortune. Rachel finds out about Nick's family when she finally visits Singapore with him for his best friend Colin's wedding. Admittedly, the main storyline may seem a little cliched, but it made history by portraying specificities of Asian and Asian American family relations and cultures that is radically different from the existing mainstream narratives.
The cinematography in this movie is really something to be awed by. The scene of Colin's wedding is one of many beautiful shots filmed for the movie. Extravagant decorations line every wall of every building. The coloring is perfect. It's just so pleasing to look at. But in this scene, it's the love between Colin and Araminta, his fiancée, that takes center stage. Araminta appears in the middle of lush greenery, like she's walking out of a dream, and against this backdrop of Araminta and Colin, Rachel and Nick reaffirm their love for one another. And over this imagery, Can't Help Falling in Love begins to play.
At the same time, though, movies don't always show emotions that bring us together. A lot of the time, they demonstrate just how lost a person can get. In the musical film Les Miserables, for example, Fontaine sings of the depths of her despair in a now eponymous song, I Dreamed a Dream. It is also the song that won Anne Hathaway Best Supporting Actress in 2013. While the film and Victor Hugo's epic novel tells the story of love, forgiveness, and redemption, set against the turmoil of early 19th century France, individual tales of the lives of Jean Valjean, Fontaine, Cosette, Javert, and I believe somebody named Marius are filled with hardship and despair.
I'm sure only the lucky few would be able to live the sort of life that you dream of. And many of us probably struggle with disappointment when reality doesn't live up to our expectations. At the same time, I believe we can find resilience and love and care for one another in those moments of difficulty, like the resilience that Fantine showed towards her daughter Cosette and the love and care that Valjean showed Fantine. In many ways, the song I Dreamed a Dream really captures this complex connection between despair and hope, and different renditions of the song capture it in different lights. Today, we'll hear it through the performance of Broadway singer and actress Megan Lee Hodson. Think of it as sort of a sneak peek to September when Broadway actually opens again.
I dreamed a dream in days gone by, when hope was high and life worth living, and that love would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiving. Then I was young and unafraid, and dreams were made and used and wasted. There was no ransom to be paid, no song unsung, no wine untasted. But the tigers come at night, with their voices soft as thunder, as they tear your hope apart, as they turn your dreams to shame. He slept the summer by my side. He filled my days with endless wonder. He took my childhood in his stride, but he was gone when autumn came. And still I dreamed he'll come to me, that we would live the years together. But there are dreams that cannot be, and there are storms we cannot weather. I had a dream
And now we'd like to move on to a more recent film that has been gaining critical acclaim. Since South Korean film Parasite's success last year, a Korean-American film, Minari, brought an Academy Award to a 73-year-old supporting actress Yoon Yeojong, who was previously unknown on the international stage. The news that the Academy gave its highest accolade to a foreign language film and its Best Supporting Actress award to a foreign actress came to such a pleasant surprise to many.
So minari is actually a Korean word for a plant, which grows in Korea and is known for being very adaptable to the elements and very resilient to any sort of weather that it encounters. The movie Minari tells the story of a Korean immigrant family who moves from Korea to a small farm in Arkansas in the late 70s, 80s-ish, and facing language and cultural barriers and also some subtle racism from their neighbors and classmates, the family tirelessly chases down the American dream. Central to the plot, however, is the grandmother of the family, because both the father and the mother of the family work day in and day out. Their grandmother stays at home and takes care of the children. One scene in particular stuck out to me. The boy of the family is described as having some sort of major heart condition, and he overhears his parents talking about the possibility that he may not actually survive for much longer. That night, the sinking dread of death hits the boy hard, and he is unable to sleep. His grandmother holds him close, and through her limited English, comforts the boy, sings him a lullaby, and eventually falls asleep. Minari has its own theme that plays when she comforts him. But instead of playing that, we decided to do something a little more personal and meaningful. In Korean culture, there is this one lullaby called 섬집 아기, which roughly translates to child of a house on an island. It originates from 1960s Korea, when Korea was still very much a developing country, and thus all families living in Korea had to live like very diligently and very in squalid conditions like the one described in Minari. The song itself, or the lullaby I should say, tells the story of a mother who, because she has to go work, leaves her child on the beach of the island where she lives. And she worries that the tide will rise and her baby will be lost to the never-ending sea. And to make things a little bit more interesting, we arranged this lullaby as a duet for the cello and a Korean traditional harp-like instrument called the kayagum. Please enjoy.
worries. Before the last song of the day, we'd like to answer any questions that you may have for us. So please share in the chat if you have any questions, or comments, and or feedback, and we'll verbally share with everyone as well. What do you want to do? Don't move. Okay. We'll wait a second. Should we wait a bit? We'll wait a bit. Should we keep going? Yeah, okay, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. Yeah, we'll do the Q&A bit. We can do it later. We'll figure it out.
Okay, so seeing as of now there are no questions for our last piece, let's all close our eyes and go back to Long Island, New York in the late 1940s. The Godfather premiered in 1977 based on a best-selling novel of the same name by Mario Puzo. It is undoubtedly one of the most famous films of all time, if not the most famous. It tells the story of the Corleone crime syndicate and its struggles for territory and political power against the Tattaglia, Barzini, Cuneo, and Strachey crime families. However, in a bit of irony, though the film depicts many gruesome acts of violence, it emphasizes the importance of strong morals and respect for family. Fredo, you're my older brother, and I love you, but don't ever take sides with anyone against the family ever again. It's this irony, as well as its romanticism of the Italian mafia and organized crime, that drew in so many cinema-goers 40 years ago. If Minari quietly tells the story of an immigrant family through the simplicity of farm life, the Godfather series seems to scream out loud the same story through the glamour and thrill of crime.
We will now be performing Speak Softly Love for you today, also known as the Godfather love theme. The song is at times serene and at times cold yet grand, serene. We think this fits the atmosphere of the world we are in right now.
We'll conclude what we've prepared for you today. Our pre-pandemic lives have been gradually returning, and thus it's not a stretch to say that the world is returning to a state of normality. And the reopening of the Senior Center after a year and a half of closed doors is definitely a huge step in that direction. Hope you all stay safe in this long and hot summer, and we look forward to performing for you next time, maybe even in person at the RSS Terrace. Thank you.
Thank you so much. While there weren't questions, there were a lot of lovely comments. Great job, guys. An amazing performance. You inspire us. Thank you so much. Have a very good evening, everyone, and we will see the Flume Ensemble soon. Take care, everybody.